This is a brief tutorial on how to use the school Numberline tool. Once you've installed the tool, you should have it somewhere on your desktop as an icon. Just double click it, and the first screen you see is the settings screen. This determines what your Numberline is going to look like. So here it's set up with a minimum of -10 and a maximum of 10. If that suits your purpose, that's fine. It's going to go up in steps of 1, that is from -10, -9, -8 and so on. We can change that to being half steps if we wanted to, whatever. And the number of decimal places that we want to display on it. At the moment it's at 2, we might just change it to 1 decimal place. Now whenever you make any changes here, you need to then click the update button, and when you do that it's going to take us straight to the show line here, so we can see what our number line looks like. So here we can see we've got, just as we said, -10 to 10 in steps of 1, and the little counter here, this is what the children move along. They hold and drag this along, and you see the number that it's sitting on here in the number line. So here it's right at -4.7. There's 1 decimal place, just as we asked for. And underneath we've also got a fractions line. We'll speak about that in a moment. So that's the basic idea of the tool, where they can drag this up and down the line, the n value, the number value, and see where it goes. And if that was all there was to the tool, it wouldn't be much use to us though. So let's just go back and see what else we can play with. Along here you'll notice that you've got fractions, numbers, and then these things here. These are equations that we can put in, but we'll worry about that in a moment. I'm just going to remove the fractions for a second, and let's say we want to change our scale. We want to change our scale to, I don't know, 100. Let's say we want a much larger number line in steps of 1. Let's see what happens now when I do this, because that's going to be a lot of steps, isn't it? That's 200 minus 100 to 100 in steps of 1. What might that look like? Now the number line here itself restricts what you can do according to how cluttered that would be, and that would be so cluttered we couldn't really see anything. So we need to be more reasonable with it. Perhaps steps of 10 might be better, and yeah, that allows us to do that, because you can imagine if we had steps of 1, this would be so cluttered you couldn't even see what's going on, particularly on your scale. So there's the thing changed to whatever scale you want, whatever number of decimal points that you want. The number of steps, well, whatever you want up to a point, but it will restrict you if you try to put too many in, so that you it wouldn't work. You couldn't see what's going on. Now notice also, if we might put that back to 10, and we'll make it steps of instead of this time, I'm going to put in steps of 0.5, and update. Didn't let me do it, so we might change it to, well, we'll just make it steps of 1 then, and we'll actually make that 0.1. Okay, so here's our tool just off there. So now we've got a number line from -1 to 1 with steps of 0.1. Now if I want to, I can also add a fraction line. So here with this here, fraction line, now with the steps of 0.1, so in tenths. So if we go back again, and here is the number line, this time displaying not just the decimal values, but here also the fraction values here. So this could be useful for students converting to decimals. I can put in anything I like. I can make it into eighths if I want to. I just need to put it in as a decimal though here. And now I've got what the eighths are and what the equivalent fractions are. I can change the number of decimal places if I want to here, as I've said, into 4 if I wanted to, whatever number I want. So that's the basic setting up of the number line, where we can either just show numbers or fractions, or both, as we have here. I'm going to remove the fractions. I'm not going to worry about those for the minute. Well, now we're going to discuss this here, this point A, point B, point C. What exactly are they? Well, back on the number line, you notice we had the n values, as we've already discussed, and here this A, B and C, these are functions we can add in. So some function of n that we can actually use. So here we can add the functions in by going into the settings and using the calculator here. Now notice it's color coded red, or if I went to the green one it changes color. so we know which function we're working with. So here, let's just do a simple function n plus 2. Now, before we actually go into that, I'm going to need to go to the settings, because I did n plus 2, and here my maximum and minimum are -1 and +1, so that's going to work for very few values. So I'm going to put it back to plus and minus 10, and in the steps I'm just going to have steps of 1. We don't need 4 decimal places. In fact, I'm going to put no decimal places, and update the number line. And now we have n, and also this a function has appeared on the line. Now, do you remember what it was? The a function, it was n plus 2. So here's the relationship visualized. So when we've got any particular n value, whatever we want to put it on, -4, well, the value there is -2. It's 2 more. And you notice as we move up and down the line, and this is what's good for students to be able to see, you can actually visualize that relationship. What happens to the a value, the function a, as the n value changes? And notice the distance between them, if you like, is always the same. The one is always 2 higher than the n value, and that's your value of n plus 2. That's just a simple function. Let's put in another one. Let's make something a little bit more complicated. Let's say 2 times n, and see what happens now. So notice now we've got function b and function a. So as we move it along, b looks a little bit more interesting, doesn't it, the way that it moves in relation to n. And so we've got it passing, and it seems to go more quickly. As we go into higher values, it seems to pull away. So what's going on here? So this is now what makes this tool an interesting thing for students to investigate functions and explain what's really going on with a function. Here's an interesting one for using for students. Let's make it n to the power down here of 2n squared. We'll put in our third function and see what does that look like. Well, it's already right up here. Let's take our n value and put it at 0. So we notice we're exactly in line, and as we move along, as our n value goes up, you'll see that the c value quickly passes everything and just disappears off the screen. As we move down, you'll see that as we head towards 0, this c function does something very interesting. Heads back the other way. So what's going on there exactly? As the n value comes down, it goes back the other way. Now, I've had year 7 students make the comment that it bounces, which is a very nice description of a parabola, isn't it? That's going on. So the students can play around with it and actually see what's going on with these functions, and that's where the investigations come in. So we can put whatever functions we like. Notice we've got sine, cos and tan, and here negative values and so forth using this calculator. It is restricted to whatever's on there, but for junior mathematics it's quite adequate. So you've got your settings, your show line here. Again, we can have fractions if we want to. Up to 3 functions we can have in here. It shows the values of the functions to however many decimal points we want. And the last thing to note is this here, the notepad. And so as a student, I can write in here, I noticed for n, or 2n or something like that, for 2n that such and such happened, whatever notes the student wants to make in here. There's a little tool here they can use to put in symbols like square roots and so on in here, whatever it is that they want to put in there. So it's a little function here that they can put in as some notes just to record what it is that they've actually done. You can put in a second number line if you want to. So and again, the whole thing came up. So you might like to, instead of putting them all on here, do a comparison of the 2 lines here. However you want to set that up, however you want to use this tool. So this tool is an excellent investigation tool, not just to which students can visualize various functions on here, and a number of activities that we've got are based around this tool. Right, well, hopefully that has helped you to just understand the basics of how to use the tool, and now we want to get on with the investigations.